everyone, welcome to another Tuesday evening another Tuesday evening. Welcome to my channel. I'm Tammy. I'm the Siberian Wind. I know this is not my normal time, so today is going to go a little bit differently than normal. I do see that Kathy from My Hobby Home had commented she was hoping to that she read it wrong and could catch me tonight. She may try to jump in for about 30 minutes tonight. Absolutely fine. Judy is here. Welcome in. She says hi, Tammy. Helen is also here, or she was here earlier. She says hi, Tammy, as well. Ladies, thank you for being here. This is definitely not my normal time. It's not normal anything tonight. So I do apologize. I know it's not what you're used to having from me, but thank you for anybody who happens to stop in, happens to come say hi, whatever tonight brings, right? So I had to move the live tonight. It was normally supposed to be at 6 p.m. Judy is, I've got both Judys in the chat. Yay! She says hi, Tammy, Helen, and Judy, welcome in. Kathy is back. She says hi, Tammy. Welcome in, Kathy. So what happened is tonight was supposed to be a town hall meeting at or with our power company. And so when they advertised the meeting, they advertised it as a town hall. They didn't advertise it as a meet and greet some of the employees. They advertised it as a town hall. That is not what happened. I got there, and guys, I have been to a Sunday service, and I've been to like the socialization hour after the service where like people come and hang out. They talk to the pastor, they talk to the music minister, they talk to all of these different, important people in the church and all of that, and they just kind of hang out for a little bit. Guys, that is really what happened tonight. It was a social hour with people from the power company. Kathy says, we don't need a meeting with our power company. Well, so here's the thing. Last year, they gave us the option of increasing our power bill by what they wanted to increase it by, which overall was voted down. Like, no, we're not going to accept that. That's way too much of a price hike. Not going to happen. And so what they actually ended up getting was a lot less. Like, I mean, seriously, a lot less. But the power company is still making profit. So they're paying all their employees. They're, doing everything that they're supposed to be doing. They're not actually doing everything that they're supposed to be doing. That's a whole nother issue for another day, because there's a lot that could be argued. I mean, it's a power company. What can't be argued? I'm going to move this over here so that maybe it's not like right in my way. But so what I was expecting, Kathy says that theirs just decided to raise rates again without option. Judy says ours does the same thing. I mean, last year there was a vote. There was an option. People showed up, and it was kind of like what you expect at a city hall meeting. Like, you expect to be able to hear like some kind of presentation, them giving you the reasons why, even if you don't agree with them, all of this. Like, you expect something. That is not at all what had happened. So I went in without my walker. I went in without my wheelchair because right now I'm still driving a loaner. Can't haul the damn wheelchair, pardon my language. I can't haul the wheelchair with me because I've got the loaner. I don't get my car back. I do get it back tomorrow according to my dealer. I get it back tomorrow, but when I asked him what time, he didn't have an answer for me. He just ignored the question, so I don't know what time I get it back tomorrow, but I do get it back tomorrow, thank goodness. But like, I can't carry the wheelchair in the loaner vehicle that I'm in. Even if I wanted to, there's no way for me to carry the wheelchair. So we would have to set up our other vehicle to carry my wheelchair for me to carry it. My walker is actually in the back of my car. the car that they still have. My walker's in the back of it. So I don't even have it. I would have had to have borrowed my husband's walker, which is awful for my body because it damages my wrists even more because I put weight on my wrists and I shouldn't be doing that. But anyway, I couldn't even be prepared if I'd wanted to be prepared, because what I expected was to go sit down and listen to a presentation, have people raise hands, stand up, whatever, to like give their like question or their feedback or whatever. I was expecting something like that. Guys, I get there and I can't even identify who the employees are. The employees are not even all wearing the same outfits. Like, it's not even like you walk into like T-Mobile or Verizon and they're all wearing the same color polo shirts. Like, it wasn't even that. Like, it was, you have to look for if they've got the little logo on their shirt or their hoodie or whatever they're wearing. And so like, I didn't even know who was who, because I've never seen any of these people in my life, and not that I would recognize them, but I've never seen any of them. So I didn't even have a fighting chance. There were no chairs anywhere. So you're standing around trying to work your way into a conversation. And for someone with disabilities, and I do have mental health disabilities in addition to physical ones, being in that kind of environment, I needed to be prepared for that. I needed to know that that's what I was going into, and that is not what they billed it as. And there was no way to prepare for that. So it was a disconcerting evening, to say the least. Came home early, had dinner with the husband, and my hair was bothering me, so I just washed it. So you guys are literally going to get to see my hair dry if you stay hang out the whole time. All right, so let's see. Kathy said that she has Entergy, and unfortunately they have a monopoly in our area. They have, our company has a monopoly here too. Deb has joined the chat. She says, hi, Tammy. Welcome in, Deb. And Mitzi has also joined the chat. Welcome in, Mitzi. And Mitzi, I finally saw you. You were on with Debbie this morning, and I caught the last 30 seconds of that broadcast this morning or earlier today. I've not been able to go back and catch anything else, so it is what it is. But it was good to finally put kind of like a face with a name. I mean, not that I can remember the face, but like I can go back and rewatch it, I'm assuming, and put more with it. So that's what we're going to go with. I can go back and rewatch. All right. So what we are doing tonight, if you guys have not seen this or seen the pictures that I posted, and tell me if the machine is too loud, please tell me. Yes. She says, yes, I was there. I was like, yeah, no, I saw the like name tag thing on the Zoom meeting thingy or whatever. Whatever it's called. I saw that part. That's what I was working off of. I saw that part. All right. So we are doing kind of a jelly roll race, but what I have done is I did a little bit of prep work to get ready. I've made a couple of alterations to how I want my jelly roll race to look when it is done. So that's what we are prepping before anything else happens. And that strip I'm going to leave because I don't have a lot of that left. So I'm going to grab the next one. So when you do a jelly roll race, one of the first steps is to decide how you're going to sew your strips together. And my husband's, opinion kind of matters, because this is more for him to have a quilt to hang up on the wall. This is more for decoration than anything else. This is not a cuddle up quilt. We're not worried about how soft it's going to be when it's all done. This is literally to hang on the wall and decorate. Okay. So what I am doing is I have taken my inner border fabric, which is this dark green. It's really a rich green. And so that's what's going to border everything. And I was like, well, if I do a regular jelly roll race and these strips are going to be in there, then some of that dark green is going to be touching the borders. And I really didn't want that. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to make it where I had a little bit of separation. And so that's what we are working on first before I do anything else. And let me get my camera set up, and I will bring you guys down to the table so you guys see what I'm doing. And the talking is going to slow me down quite a bit, so I do apologize in advance. And that's kind of why we started a little early, because I didn't get all of this done. The other thing that I did that is different from a traditional jelly roll race, if you guys have never seen a jelly roll race, I'll explain in just a minute. Or actually, I'll go ahead and explain now. When you do a traditional jelly roll race, you are taking all of your strips from your jelly roll and you are sewing the short ends together. So I would take this strip, this full length strip, and it'd be with the fabric. It wouldn't be this short length. It would be with the fabric, and I would sew this short end to the short end of the next jelly roll strip. Well, in trying to make sure that I don't have an overwhelming amount of this dark green everywhere, what I did is I went ahead and cut my dark green into 2¼ inch pieces. And that's because of how many strips that I had and how many half strips of jelly rolls I had. So I actually took all of my jelly roll strips and I trimmed off the selvage edges. So the selvages are gone. And I have also cut them in half. So instead of this being a full 43 inches, it is only whatever half of that is, like 21.5, or I think, yeah, it's 21.5. So yeah, these are only 21.5. So my first step is just getting all of these green squares attached. And I am kind of doing it in the order that I want these strips to go. Mitzi says, I've seen them with triangles between the strips. Yes, I showed my husband that version because if you go in and Google Jelly Roll Race quilt, that version will come up, and I think it's a Missouri Star Quilt Company pattern. I think that one where I saw it was Missouri Star. So you know, it's a great quilt, so don't get me wrong. It's a great quilt, but I showed my husband the one with the triangles. He's like, the triangles are too distracting. I'm like, okay. So I showed him also where instead of doing triangles, they did like the parallelograms where it's that 45 degree, but it's like it's kind of like a chisel. It's not the chisels that we did in the cut and chisel exactly, but it's kind of along those same lines. And he didn't like that either. And I showed him if I joined at all the strips at 45 degree angles, what that would look like, you know, examples of that. And he didn't like that either. He really liked the straight edges. So we're sticking with the straight edges. And I originally did show him one that had the little squares, like what I'm doing in it, and he wasn't really fond of it, so he really didn't, it wasn't his thing. He didn't like it. But I decided that this is what I was going to do either way, because I didn't want so much dark green all next to each other. I didn't want to run the risk of having just massive amounts of this dark green overpowering the rest of the quilt and taking away from the look of it. So I decided I was doing this either way. So I found a picture of one that was done with, you know, a little bit bigger squares than this, because these are just going to end up being rectangles by the time it's done. So I did show him one that was bigger than this, but I was like, okay, this is what it's going to look like, but it's going to be turned on, you know, turned straight up and down like you want it. And so he was okay with that once he saw that. So even though he has never done one of these and apparently has never seen a jelly roll race in person, he just doesn't remember it. this is how we're going to put it together. So I am getting all of these squares sewn on, and it seems like this is going to take absolutely forever. So I was trying to get some of this done, or as much of this done before I went live as possible. And then I realized, I was like, some of my people are normally on my lives and they're going to miss me because they're going to have to go to bed early. And it's really not fair. So it might be a good idea for me to just at least hop on a little early and go ahead and get everybody pulled into the live. So this is not normal. This is not a normal part of a jelly roll race. When you do a jelly roll race, you're typically not sewing the additional pieces in. You're just typically, at least when the original jelly roll race pattern and the craze came out with it, it was just sew the strips together. And so, although I could do that, I do want this dark green to be represented in the quilt, or in the middle of the quilt, even though it's going to be one of the borders. So it's going on there either way. And I did go ahead and lay all of my jelly roll strips out. So these are all the half strips laid out on my ironing board beside me. So I'm just going back and grabbing one at a time. Most of the time I'm grabbing them in order. But if I don't, it's not going to be a huge deal. If you've never done a jelly roll race before, whatever strip you start with and whatever strip you end with are going to be two strips that are going to join together. Beyond that, it kind of just depends on what you're working with as far as how they're going to end up. Now, one thing I did remember to do, and you guys will be proud of me. You can cheer, you can clap, you can put congratulations in the chat because I remembered it. I went ahead, my first strip, which is all the way on the floor and buried right now, my first strip is, I did go ahead and cut off some length on it. So it's going to land exactly where it needs to land in the quilt. So it's going to offset everything properly. So I did remember to do that. If you've never done a jelly roll race before, what they typically have you do is once you get all your strips together, you pick whichever end you want to do. You can pick the beginning or the end, either one, and you will trim off. And I've heard different accounts. I've heard trim off 10 inches. I've heard trim off half. I've heard trim off, 6 inches. It just depends on who wrote the pattern. Or who wrote that version of it as to how much you trim off. I think I trimmed off 4 inches, and seeing as these are 21.5-inch long strips, that made that first one 17.5, something like that. So that first strip is not going to be, completely half or whatever, but it will stagger all of these green squares. If you don't trim off a little bit on whatever you're starting, or starting or ending, you don't trim both of them. But if you don't trim trim a little bit off, then your strips are going to line up exactly on top of each other, and you're going to have seams on top of each other, and it's going to lend itself to a much different look, and it will not come out like a true jelly roll race quilt. Judy says, awesome. That will help them keep them lined up as you sew. Great idea. Thank you. Yeah, I'm super excited because I did also, when I laid these strips out on my board, I did not worry about lining them up lightest to darkest. So the strips are not going to be lightest to darkest, and I am flipping every so often. Okay, so my fabrics are directional, you guys. This is upside down. This is a barn. So you're not going to see the whole barn. You're not going to see the whole dog. You're not going to see the whole leaf or pumpkin, and you're not going to see the whole scarecrow. So the fabrics that I have that have motifs, you're not going to see the whole motif. I already knew that that was not going to happen because these are 2.5 inch wide strips. But if you sew all of these, especially when you have a directional, if you sew them all right side up, then for sure half of your fabrics are going to end up upside down. And because this is actually going up and down versus sideways, it's not really going to make much of a difference other than I'll have my fabrics looking at each other versus, maybe they're not going to look at each other. I don't know. But they're not going to, it's going to kind of help some of them flip a little bit better. And I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to go in and manually rotate anything. So you do not have to worry. I'm not going to be that OCD. I'm not going to go in and rotate my strips as I go. That would just be way too much work. When you do a jelly roll race, especially if you are concerned about directional prints, don't use them. You don't want to use directional prints if that's going to be a deal breaker for you. Directional prints will make a difference by the time you're said and done. And once you get to sewing these together, I still have to attach them to each other. So, this is not the end of the short sewing. We got a lot of short sewing still left. But once you're done with all the short sewing, when you get to that long seam sewing, you're not going to want to take time and stop and rip your strip out just to put it back in, because then you're going to be flipping it again. So there's really not a great way to do that unless you are willing to lay everything out in advance and not worry about it actually being an actual jelly roll race. You can work with directional prints that way. But when you do a jelly roll race like this, I just advise don't worry about directions, because it's not going to matter. You might get lucky if you flip your every other one or something. You might come out with a quilt that, everything is flipped right side. You might. I highly doubt I'm going to end up with that. I fully expect that I won't. So I'm going with the assumption that I'm not going to end up with that. And we're just going to take it as it comes. So I have a lot of strips on the floor, you guys. And I am starting to get to the last 2 or so in each pile. So we're starting to get down to the last little bits. I did see that we have some new posts up in the Facebook group. You guys, if you are not a member of the Facebook group and you want to be, because it is free, do !group in the chat, and that will give you a link to the Facebook group, so that way you can go see all the sew and tell items. Judy asks, how many rows will your wall hanging have? I have no idea. I really don't. Once I start sewing them together and sew the long strip and then start flipping everything, I'm just going to keep going until it kind of seems like a good size, and just going to go with it that way. Kathy says that she's been scouting for a jelly roll pattern for the National Sew a Jelly Roll Day next month. Awesome. What day is that? Because I completely forgot that there is a jelly roll pattern or jelly roll day. And kind of need to put that on my calendar. Even if I don't sew one, then I may post links to this video so people can come back and come catch this jelly roll quilts. And of course I will be putting border and bind 2 borders on this. I'm going to put a September 21st, I think. Okay, that works. Chloe, she says, hello, Tammy and all. It is late for you, sweetheart, but thank you for being here. Thank you, thank you. All right, I'm checking to make sure if I am down. Yeah, those piles, I am down to the last 2. So I kind of wanted to make sure, because not all of my piles had the same number of strips in them. So I wanted to make sure that any discrepancies in like following a pattern exactly, I went ahead and buried it somewhere in the middle of the quilt. That way, at least my end ones are going to, for my OCD, they're going to line up the way I expected them to. And I think I've got one over here that's going to still have extra strips. So I may have to work that in. We're going to see. Let's see. Judy said, or Kathy says that she already has her fabric and think pattern decided, but the pattern is still up in the air. Yeah, I've got, I do have another jelly roll, and I do have a pattern for it, but it is not a, it's not a traditional jelly roll pattern. I have a Quiltworks pattern that is going to be a double wedding ring, and it is not the pattern that I'm designing, you guys. So before you get upset, it is not the one I'm designing, so you know you're not going to miss anything. But the Quiltworks pattern uses a jelly roll for the bands, to make the rings for the double wedding ring. And so I do have a jelly roll set aside for that. I might just make something strip piecey, if that makes sense, because I did pick up a whole bag of 2-inch strips, and I've got some more fabric. You guys, mine isn't traditional that I am aware of, says Kathy. Okay, that works. I'm going to be excited to find out what you've got going on. What day is the 21st? Let me pull my calendar real quick. Let's see. September 21st is a Saturday. Ooh, I could sew that on a Saturday. I could work on it maybe. Just depends on everything else I've got going on. So the quilt that we're going to be doing for the free pattern for September, is going to be called the Bauble Quilt. Bauble. The Bauble Quilt. And when you see the actual quilt, like when you see what it looks like, it will make sense as to why it's called a bauble. If you think of like those little hanging, I named it that because it makes me think of little hanging ball kind of things. And almost kind of like a bubble as well. And so my two great nieces, already have their own quilts with that bauble pattern. And so the last one, the newest one, the one that's due in November, she's going to get that as well. Yes, ornaments. Exactly. That's what I'm thinking of. That is exactly what I'm thinking of. The first time I made the quilt for anyone, I did make it for an infant. I made it as a crib quilt, and the people that were commissioning for me to, next year it's on the 20th. Okay, so it's always on the Saturday. Gotcha. Okay. That makes sense that they would do that. I will have to save that in my notes. I do have a new calendar, you guys. I'm so excited about that calendar. I have used it today, and I will be using it tomorrow, and I will be using it 2 days from now. I'm actually excited about it. And it's hard to get me excited about a calendar, but it goes all the way through December next year. It fits in my purse, so I can carry it with me. And so I can plan all my quilts and all of that in that planner. I'm super excited about it. And so now I just got to look for one that's 2026 through 2020, 27, like a 2-year version, a 24-month version versus an 18-month version, that kind of thing. Because that's the only thing I don't like about a lot of planners. So like my current planner that I was using goes through December this year, but I couldn't find any January through December next year. Charlotte is here. She says, hey, Tammy and everyone. Welcome in, Charlotte. Glad you made it, lady. Very glad to see your name in my chat. So So yeah, we are just gonna hang out for this, and I'm gonna see how far we get by the time it is time to call it quits for the night. We've actually had to report our upstairs neighbors a couple of times today already, for being overly noisy. And it is not that they're walking around loud, because they actually walk softer than the previous neighbor we had upstairs. But they play their music really loud. And we can sit there and hear their music clearly over our TV. And so we have to turn our TV up, which probably annoys the lady downstairs of us. So it's one of those. We've had that going on. And you guys, tomorrow is my husband's birthday. So if you guys think about it, you can flood Facebook in the group, and you can flood my YouTube channel in the comments with happy birthday wishes for him. If you want to call him by name, his name is Tom. Or you can call him Mr. Siberian Wind. I will get a kick out of that more than he will. Yeah, tomorrow is his birthday, and I don't have a lot planned for his birthday. I originally wanted to plan something for his birthday, but just things have not worked out. So yeah, tomorrow, the 28th, is his birthday. Kathy, she says it's her granddaughter's first birthday tomorrow, too. That's exciting. So, here's the funny thing, okay? So, my late mother-in-law, that I never got to meet, her birthday was today. I have a great niece, her birthday is today. So, the two of them shared a birthday. And Tom and his twin missed their mom's birthday by, like, an hour. So, like, tomorrow morning, like, an hour into tomorrow is when he and his twin were born. So they missed their mom's birthday by like an hour. One of his brothers called him and left him a birthday message this morning, wishing him happy birthday today. Because apparently he forgot that Tom and Mom did not share the same birthday. Chloe says, fun birthday wishes. My husband hates his birthday. It was his on the 22nd. Oh, cool. Yeah, no, I like my birthday, but I don't frequently get to do what I want on my birthday. Like, my birthday has never been about me. So that's why we are turning the month of October into a celebration month. So even if it's not all about me, it's all about me celebrating you guys for being, here for me. So yeah, we're turning October into my month. Kathy says her grandson turned 8 months on the 22nd. Oh, cool. Okay, and then let's see. So my son was born on the 25th. He has a second cousin that was born on the 22nd, literally 3 days before him. Same year, everything. She was born 3 days before him. We had the same due date, and she got induced earlier, or she got induced on the 22nd, and then I got induced on the 25th. They were expecting my son to be a lot bigger than he was, so that's why. That's why. And then, so my husband's birthday is tomorrow, and then I have a nephew that married into the family. His birthday's on the 29th, and then I think there's like 4 or 5 other birthdays that are coming up very quickly. So there's a lot going on. Shirley says, it's a birthday month, Tammy. Yes. I'm going to get a birthday month. My husband wanted a birthday month. No. We did that last year. And no, we're not doing the whole month as his birthday month. Not doing that. He doesn't get that. He gets a birthday day. Oh, that's funny. Let's see. It really is. She's walking and sassy. Loves purses and cheese. Oh, that's precious. It's so cute when they're little and like purses and such. Because, you ask them what goes in their purse, and you never know what kind of answer you're going to get. Little ones can be so surprising sometimes. All right, I got 2 more strips after this one. So this is 3. And then I got 2 and 1. And then I can start joining these together. There we go, Judy. She says, happy birthday to all the August people. Yeah, he's tried to pull the whole birthday month thing all stinking month. And his birthday's at the end of the month. Oh, Rob is here. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. He says, hello, everyone. Chloe says, I love it when the littles walk around with purses and necklaces, right? They're so adorable. And then Kathy says that her toothbrush goes in her purse. That's so stinking cute. She's going to be a dental hygienist when she grows up. That or a dentist. Full-on dentist. I'm voting either way. Statistically, more births happen in July and August. Yes, they do. Because everybody is cooped up in the winter. And so, therefore, you know, the babies are born 9 to 10 months later, depending on what methodology you subscribe to. My grand at 12 years wanted Sour Patch Kids and makeup in hers. Yes. That sounds like a 12-year-old. It really does. All right, so I have got all those strips together. So they are just, so you see my little green squares, dark green squares attached to all of them. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the beginning. And it's just because I can. I mean, I could have started at the end and worked my way back. But I just kind of want to start at the beginning. I just feel like the beginning's a good place to start. She has a spin brush and thinks it's funny to brush her tongue. Oh, that's cute, though. That's cute. And as long as you get video of her now doing it, then that can be shown at her wedding. Shown either at her high school graduation or her wedding. You know, show video of her spin brushing her tongue. Oh. Chloe says, that sounds about right, Judy. My oldest daughter is 11. Oh, gosh, yeah. So the youngest in the family, she is 14 now. And when I first got inducted into the family, basically, I bet she probably did have Sour Patch Kids and makeup in hers. Oh, yeah. That is the right age for it. All right, so what I've done is I'm just going to cut strips off as I go. Let me actually stop this because I was going way off of where I want to be. And granted, all my seams are going to press to one direction, so I'm not super worried. But I really don't want a crooked seam. I should have gone slower considering I was starting. And my machine does tend to like to eat things sometimes. Alright, so I've got that one on there. So next strip is this. So all I'm going to do is make sure that when I join this next strip that I'm not joining green to green. I want to join a strip. So I'm joining this pumpkin strip to the green. So the green that's on the other end is going to go towards the next strip. So that's all I'm making sure of right now, is that that's how these are laying together. And I am making sure that whatever strip I grab next, because, I mean, again, I did put these in an order, but I'm just making sure that whatever strip I grab next is not the same strip as what it was connected to 5 seconds before. So, like, I don't want to connect a pumpkin to the other side of a green that also is connected to a pumpkin, if that makes sense. Kathy says 14 is an amazing age. Yes, it is. Charlotte says, Kathy, you've got blackmail pics if you take them. Yes. Oh my gosh, where's the strip? Okay. I'm going to drape this over my ironing board, and it will pull up that way. That way I can find this end, because every time I set it down on my lap, I'm losing it. So, yeah, we're going to do it that way. You guys are so funny. You guys are so funny. Kids are hilarious. You know, sometimes they come up with the most amazing thoughts, and they share those with us. And then sometimes they come up with the most, how in the world are you my child kind of thoughts. You know, those, how am I related to you thoughts that you might have? Like, are you sure you're from my bloodline? I have a lot of those moments. You guys are so funny. So far, my favorite blackmail pic is my grandson shaking it to the Teletubbies. Oh, that's perfect. Oh. I would end up with something along the line. I should have the picture. I think I have the picture. So, I think I've told you guys before. So, my son woke up during nap time. That he didn't actually take a nap at daycare. Got a hold of the markers and proceeded to color his legs and arms and face the same color as his shorts outfit that I was so proud of having bought him. And when I got home with him, I did have him go ahead and pose for a picture because I knew I might need it as blackmail later. So I do have a picture somewhere of that incident. I'm not sure where it's at, but there is a picture somewhere. Chloe was laughing at Teletubbies. Yeah, right? I don't think I could watch Teletubbies, though. Barney was about my limit. I could handle Barney, but I could not handle Elmo. I babysat one child at one point. She and her younger sister, they had her sister while I was babysitting her. She was still pre-K and they had her sister. But they would tell me that I could put on Barney or Elmo or like any of these videos for her to watch. Guys, that child never watched Elmo the entire time I was there. I was like, I couldn't do Elmo. Elmo is where I draw the line. There's a lot that I can handle. Elmo was not ever it. I mean, I've watched when I've babysat, kids do the darndest things, right, Charlotte? We had a big comfy couch, Teletubbies, and Scooby-Doo. Oh goodness, I probably could have handled that. Have some very embarrassing pics of my oldest son and his friends with water balloons with their backs turned to the camera, with all you see is water flowing. Oh my gosh. So one of the kids I babysat, guys, I swear to you, he loved the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I really didn't care for it. I really didn't. But I could watch that, whereas I could not handle Elmo. You put Elmo on, and I run from the house screaming. So my mom's biggest threat when my son was little was that she would buy my son something with Elmo on it and get him indoctrinated into Elmo and then send him home. So that was the only thing that kept me in line as a mom, was that my mother, his grandmother, threatened to give him something Elmo and send him home with it. No, that was not cool. Not cool. Okay, Charlotte says, can't say I blame you. My worst one was Barney. I could handle Barney better. Gosh, I could sing Barney. I can still sing Barney. Now that I am thinking about it, I'm kind of cringing. I can't sing it very well, so, I'm not going to. But that I Love You song, yeah, no, I can sing that thing. The Brave Little Toaster. That was the favorite movie in our house. I don't think I've actually seen that one. If I have, it's been a really long time. I love Scooby-Doo, Tom and Jerry. Oh, I love Tom and Jerry. Love Tom and Jerry. I love Bugs Bunny, Roadrunner, Wile E. Coyote, The Martian. I didn't like The Martian that much, but I loved The Abominable Snowman. Who else did I love watching? Those were the main. Sylvester and Tweety. I hate Tweety, so I have my own deals with Tweety, but I liked Sylvester, so Sylvester was my thing. And you could always find Tweety merchandise, but you couldn't find Sylvester merchandise. Ask me how I know. Charlotte says that's evil. I'm sorry. Charlotte says now I'll have nightmares of Barney. I'm sorry. Just know that No, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. Oh my gosh. Okay, who dares me to do it? I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to be mean. Kathy says Tom and Jerry was my favorite. Right. Oops, guys, must run late for me and I still have a video to edit. Catch you later. Absolutely, Kathy. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for stopping in. Appreciate it. Hit that thumbs up before you leave if you will. If you haven't already. Gotta ask for it because YouTube is cracking down. They kind of are watching to see if, people are engaging with the content. And the more you guys talk and the more you guys comment or like and thumbs up and all of that kind of stuff, the better my ratings go. Rob says, was working on my stained glass quilt and ran out of thread, so I have to put it on hold till the thread arrives or that was ordered. Oh my gosh, Rob. That's awful. Is it black thread? Is that what you're ordering? What did you order? What thread are you using? That's a really good question. We ought to be talking about that. What thread are you using in your machines? What I've got right now is Essentials by Connecting Threads. It is a giant cone of thread. This one is actually about half gone already. My other spool that is up on my counter or up on my shelf is about double that size. So I've already gone through about half of a spool, and that is a 5,000 yard spool. So I've gone through about 2,500 yards just on this spool alone. Oh, Rob, it's beautiful. Can't wait to see it finish. Right? I agree. Judy, I've been waiting for the finish of that quilt. And the one that he posted already, it's so stinking adorable. And no wonder he wanted to do a second one. Because that first one was amazing, and then he gives it away. So he's got to do another one. So you guys, if you've not seen, let's see, I've had bad luck with connecting threads breaking. I have not had bad luck with this. Now, I haven't tried any of their other spools. So maybe it's just this big spool. But I have not had any problems with it at all yet. I'll say it that way. Charlotte says, I love those huge spools. Yes, that's what I was kind of looking for. Because I was using Gutermann. For the longest time, I've used Gutermann thread. And my problem with Gutermann is that it is very linty. So you do end up with lint in your machine and all over the place. I have not had that problem with this thread yet. Rob says that he's using Aurifil Dark Navy. Okay. I have not found a really good deal on Aurifil. And when I bought this, I was just more looking for the super large cones. Just because I use that much thread. I mean, I'm going through tons of thread, you guys. I actually have a collection of thread spools. So at the end of the year, I am going to show you guys how many spools of thread I've emptied. Some of them I started last year, or they weren't full spools. So don't think just because I've emptied a spool that I started with it full, because I didn't. I definitely did not do that. I've emptied quite a few spools of thread. So I'm kind of keeping a collection. I'm going to do something with it at the end of the year. Mitzi says that she uses Aurifil. Judy says that she uses Essential also. I would go through so much thread with my quilting and embroidery machine. Yes. Now, I do not use this in embroidery. I use Isacord in my embroidery machine, or when I do embroidery. And I use a bobbin thread, unless it is a double-sided piece like freestanding lace. I do use bobbin thread usually. Chloe says Connecting Threads is having a Labor Day sale, 20% off your order. I do think I did see that in my email. I am kind of strapped on money now. So I may not be able to get anything more. Seems like the color spools break more. Okay, now that might make some sense. So this spool is white. So maybe that's why I'm having as good of luck with it as I am. The majority of what I was using before I swapped to this, before I got these spools in, was between white, cream, and gray. I don't know that I would order. I might order black in it, but I don't think I'm going to order the other ones. Glenda has joined the chat. She says, "Hey, Tammy and everyone. Late again. It was in Bath. No worries, Glenda. I'm actually late myself. My live would normally start at 6 p.m. and so we were starting it late because I had a community meeting to go to that was a big bust. It was not at all what it was supposed to be, so I'm very disappointed. But we're here, right? Chloe says that she uses Aurifil, Superior Threads, and Gutermann. Yeah, that's kind of... Charlotte, Chloe, you're killing me, Smalls. My husband has that on a poster out in the living room behind his desk. And, of course, it's with the kid with the baseball bat from the movie. Let's see, but I don't have Aurifil, but I do have, obviously, the connecting threads, and I do have Gutermann. I do have some King Tut left over, but I don't typically use that for piecing. It is very pretty thread. It's very linty thread, but it's very pretty. So I'd rather use it for things that are smaller projects, so I know what I'm putting into it. I use Brother and Isacord in my embroidery machine. I have not used any Brother embroidery thread. When I closed down my store... I was able to get, before I started selling everything off, I was able to go through and choose one of every color that we had available. So I didn't get every color because, we had already sold out of some and I couldn't reorder at the time. But I did pick up most of one of every color of thread from Isacord. And I do have an Isacord color card. Granted, it's an old one at this point. But I do have a lot of Isacord. And most of it is stored securely. Everything that is open is on my shelf so I can see it and try to get through it. All the other stuff, I do have some that are on my shelves that are out in the open that are still in the plastic. And then everything that is in my bucket bins is still in plastic, so it's not opened. So I may not have a whole lot of, each different color, but I do have most of every color, not all of them. Let's see. Chloe says, the spools I have are colored of connecting threads. Good to know. I like Mettler too. Yes, Mettler is good. I just can never find Mettler in a big enough spool. I used to use Mettler when I ran the store. The only spools of thread we used were Mettler and Gutermann and Isacord. That was it. Hancock Fabrics sold Mettler and Gutermann. So I have a lot of Mettler, both embroidery, like polyester thread and cotton. My one complaint with Mettler is that the embroidery thread or the polyester thread and the cotton threads the spools themselves look very similar, like there's no color differentiation. So unless you are taking the time to look and see if it's cotton mercerized or if it's polyester, you really don't know aside from the sheen. And some spools don't have as much of a sheen depending on what color it is. So like I have an entire half shelf packed of Mettler polyester and an entire half shelf packed of Mettler cotton. So I do have those on my shelves and they are separated. I do have some random threads as well. Some of those are silk. I also have some polyesters mixed in with that. Some of them you can't tell until you do a melt test on them. So when I go to start using those and trying to deplete that supply, I will be doing burn tests on them. Just because I want to know, am I using a natural fiber or am I using a polyester fiber? And I will, of course, set the polyester fibers aside and use them separately from the natural fibers. I do have Gutermann polyester and I have Gutermann cotton. I also have some off-brand cotton. I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know what brand. There's no indications on the spool. And I use it for craft projects that I don't care about. Like things that I know aren't going to get washed a whole lot or, whatever. And some of them are some fairly bold colors, like some rust and gold and such. and I just don't want to run the risk of putting that into something that's going to see a lot of wear and tear. I could actually be using that on this project and get away with it just fine, but I'm not going to. I've already started with this thread, so I'm going to stay on this. Judy says that she is finally ready to cut binding on her 5-year-old grandson's quilt. She finished quilting it at 4 a.m. Eastern time this morning. She has till next Saturday to finish it. Oh, exciting! Well, if it's any consolation, I have not finished quilting the cross-stitch quilt. My sister-in-law's quilt. I did get all the free motion done, and I got all my threads buried, but it is folded and back up on the shelf at the moment. My husband wanted this done. I have my client's quilt I need to get done on time. And I have Andrea's pattern testing quilt that also needs to be done on time. And then I also have the bauble quilt for this month, or for September, the free quilt that you guys are going to get. That is coming up as well. So I have got way too much on my plate to keep it out. So I will pull it out when I have a downtime. Charlotte says, wow, Judy, that's cutting it close. Yes, it is. And Chloe says, you got this, Judy, right? She does. She's been trucking along with that. It's been kind of exciting to see the progress. She's been posting some of that progress in the group, as far as what she's gotten done and different projects and such. And it's really exciting to see all the progress go through. That's always so exciting for me. Because here I am, I'm sitting here pushing projects through, and to see somebody else getting some projects deadlines met is kind of exciting. Chloe says, too many deadlines, Amy. Right? I know. So my client, I know I want that quilt done in time for Christmas, so that I have time if I need to make any alterations to it, because it is going to have straps to hang it on the railing. I know that may take up some extra time as well. So I want that done in time to have time to quilt it, and I'll do whatever I need to do to make it everything that he dreamed of. So, I do want to make sure that happens. So it's just a matter of getting to that point. Judy says that she is cutting it close. She had her 5 grandkids last week and taking and picking them up from 4 schools. I really didn't think I would finish it. Yeah, right? That's a lot of running around. And I will say this. Our husbands, if you have a husband or you have a spouse or significant other that plays a role in your quilting time, whether that's contributing to helping your quilting time or contributing to taking away your quilting time. He can't hear me. He can't see me either. But it is so amazing how much they don't realize that every little bitty thing cuts into our sewing time. We love them, but they are special. Yes, they are, right? Charlotte says, I feel you, Judy, with the grands underfoot. You were very busy, Judy. Good job. Yes, right? She did amazing getting that far on it. So, this project, guys, this harvest quilt project is only happening because somebody asked for it. So this is going to be the birthday gift, is that he gets a custom made quilt. Now granted, it's only going to be the top by tomorrow. So it's not going to be the finished quilt. It will have to be still quilted. But it's not going to take a whole lot to layer and baste and quilt it, because it doesn't have to be anything fancy. I don't have to do a fancy pumpkin pattern. It's just going to be quilted. And I can kind of pick how I want to quilt it. I could actually quilt it with straight lines and call it done. And it would be perfectly fine. Let's see. Charlotte says her mister contributes by understanding that I disappear in my sewing room in the evenings. See, that's enough. I need that. Glenda says, Judy, been there, done that. I miss it sometimes. I do too. I did enjoy being, I haven't been the grandmom yet, but I did enjoy being the mom and doing all the school drop-offs and pickups and running the kids from one activity to another. Like, as much as, some people might complain about doing all of that, I really did enjoy that part. I got a lot of I didn't get a whole lot of quilting done, and I didn't get a whole lot of projects done during that time, but I really did enjoy being kind of the gopher mom, like doing the gophering thing. Go for this, go for that, haul to this, haul to that. Even when my kids were frustrating me and aggravating me and doing just the silliest of things, like just making the choices that make you scratch your head. They did a lot of that. But even though they did that, I would not change that time for the world. So we are 30 minutes into my allotted time from 8 to 10. So we are doing pretty good. Not as good as I wanted to, but we're doing pretty good. This is the hardest part of doing a jelly roll race, guys. When you are sitting here sewing these strips together. Now, granted, I'm having to do double because I cut the strips in half. So this would have been done probably in 15 minutes. If I'd started right at 8, it probably would have been done at 8:15 my time. If I was just sewing half the strips, or sewing the full strips. But I'm sewing half strips, and that's added to the time. Chloe says, my husband does that stuff with the kids. I work full time and he stays home. He has more patience than me. I am the one with the patience in the family. You have to have patience doing that. I will say that. If you do not have patience, it is not a good thing to try to be and do. Charlotte says, congrats, Chloe. Right? Judy says, I get it, Tammy. I finished 4 quilts this month and have 2 more to quilt. I have so many deadlines for special occasions. Now another one for a bridal shower by the 26th of September. Oh my gosh. Have you got everything for that one? That's, I guess, the first question. Have you got everything for that one? Have you got the pattern picked out? Like, do you know what you're doing for the one that has to be done by the 26th of September? That is an insane deadline. Absolutely insane. And somehow I have a bobbin on the floor, guys. I don't know where it came from. I've got a bobbin in the machine, and I've got a bobbin on top of the machine. But there is a bobbin on the floor. And it does have thread in it. I just don't know what kind. Deb is headed to bed. Good night, Deb. Sleep well. Thank you for hanging out with us. Yeah, I was never the one. I did want to work, so don't get me wrong. I did want to work. But I did, and, if I had had my druthers about it, no, I wouldn't have been the pick up and drop off mom. Like, I wouldn't have been that. But because I did have, it was what I needed to do. It was what the family needed. My husband at the time made a lot more money than what I did. So, and I was having medical issues. So it worked out well for that to be my place at the time. It's not what I would pick to do, but I did enjoy doing it. You picked out the pattern today, pulling the blues colors from my stash. Awesome! That's exciting. So speaking of stash, if you guys have not been to your local Walmart, and before you start in on the 4-letter words, I already know that the thoughts going through a lot of people's heads. I did need to add to my stash. I do have enough fabric to keep me busy for a while, but I have some big holes in my stash of things that I don't have. And so I did go pick out fabric at Walmart. Chloe says, can't wait to see what you make, Judy. I agree. Glenda says, since I've been disabled, I have no timelines and no deadlines or major responsibilities. I stay lost on days and months. Yes, now that did happen to me too. Because I have not, because I've been doing the YouTube channel and going to doctor's appointments and things like that, that keeps me straight. But I have been in that situation where I have lost all track of every bit of time and space. And I know how disconcerting that can be. So I feel for you. I do. It's good to not have those obligations, but then again, it doesn't keep you straight. So I understand that struggle. Let's see. Judy says, oh, Tammy, it took me 6 hours last week just for drop off and pick up. Oh my gosh. That is a lot. Glenda says, oh my goodness, Judy, you're amazing. Yeah, right? She is. So I went to my local Walmart, and if your Walmart still has fabric by the bolt, so you go in, you press a button, get somebody over there to come cut fabric, that fabric is currently $3 a yard, if not less than that. They are trying to get rid of their fabric that is cut by the bolt or cut by the yard, so that all you have to do when you go to Walmart, if you're going to buy fabric at Walmart, you pick up a prepackaged whatever and go to the register with it without having to interact with an employee. So one of my Walmarts is already set up that way. They are already on the everything is pre-cut system, and the other Walmart is transitioning to that right now. So all of their fabric is on sale. So I did go buy some things that are going to, further my stash. And if you did, Charlotte says, oh wow, didn't know that. And Chloe says, cheap. Yeah. So now let me set some expectations. Walmart does tend to buy the least expensive fabrics. Okay. What that means is that the fabrics are not made the same quality as quilt shop fabrics. So when you pick a Walmart fabric, or when you pick, fabric at Walmart, you are sacrificing quality. Okay? If that's going to matter to you, if you're trying to make an heirloom item versus a quick and dirty charity quilt, or whatever, please keep in mind that Walmart fabric may not necessarily be what you want for everything, but especially if you've got somebody learning to sew, or you're going to be making a lot of quilts, sample quilts and such, then that kind of fabric is probably a good fill-in for that. And that's what you do have to kind of look at it and be careful. Judy says, I picked a bolt of white with black speckled bolt fabric at Walmart for $6 today. Yeah. So you got yours even cheaper. The solids were $8 a bolt. I picked up for $6 today for kennel quilts. I donate. Yeah. Kennel quilts is a great reason to buy Walmart fabric, because you know that they're going to be slept on, loved on, possibly chewed on. They're not going to be well cared for. They're going to be well loved. So my bolts were not that cheap. I did buy, so I am doing one of my heirloom quilts, and the backing is going to be with fabric I picked up at Walmart. It is going to be that bauble quilt. That's going to be, the backing is going to be flannel, which I haven't done on the other two sisters' quilts. So this one's going to be the first one in flannel for her. For that section of the family, it's going to be flannel. That's going to be the first one. And so I picked up the backing because it's the right color and it's flannel. So it's going to be soft for baby. So maybe they'll actually use it instead of just hanging it up on the wall. But it is what it is. So yeah, we're doing that. Let's see. Gotta hit the last store in my area with fabric. By the way, yeah, right? right? Chloe says, good deals, Judy. Yeah. So yesterday when I went, I picked out my fabrics and got to the register, and I went to self-checkout. And the self-checkout did not ring up the same price for my fabrics that the guy at the back, when he cut my fabric, rang it up as. They rang up less up at the front. Well, it's a difference of about half off. You know, it's not quite half off, but it was close to half off. And I flagged down the self-checkout cashiers, and they're like, well, just go ahead and take it. That's fine. We don't care. That's fine. So my fabric yesterday was like half off of what the ticket thing did. I did not get so lucky today. I was like, I'll take it at half off. My ticket was supposed to be $116. And it rang up $614. And I was not okay with just accepting that. That was not fair to Walmart. Not that I really care that Walmart's being fair to us, but you know what I mean. I'm not going to... and I flagged down the self-checkout cashier just like I did yesterday, and this one wanted me to go to customer service, so it is what it is. Yeah, always looking for deals with Kinko's, right? I did get some Quilted Valley fabric there, too. I guess I'm going to go to Walmart tomorrow. Yeah, absolutely. Now, I am not pre-washing the fabric now, but I will probably pre-wash them as I pull them off of my little bolts. So I've got my magazine boards, and that's, how I'm doing mine. I'm wrapping mine up on the magazine boards. So I picked up one bolt yesterday. I picked up 3 more full bolts today, and a bolt of fabric at Walmart is 8 yards. So if you are not familiar with Walmart fabric yet, this is your only and last chance. That was almost a 5-finger discount, right? I asked, and yesterday they waved me through, and today they didn't. So, I asked and I consulted, and I did not do it without an employee telling me to. So, it is what it is. Their employees told me to do it, so I did it. So Walmart cannot come after me because I did exactly what I was told. And so yesterday I got 1 bolt, and then today I got 3. And everything else that I got cut ended up being, I had them cut 2 yards of almost everything that I was getting. So when I go to pull something from my stash that is from this Walmart haul, it is going to be 2 yards or close to it. And so it's going to be what it's going to be. So that will give me enough to do a little bit of something plus a little bit of something. And I can combine pieces. I can do the 3-yard quilts where you use 3 different 1-yard cuts. I can do stuff like that with it. And I can make duplicates on some of them, that kind of thing. Yesterday when I was having fabric cut, I was not paying attention really closely. And the gentleman, everything was supposed to be a 2-yard cut. When I was folding it onto my bolts this morning, you guys, there were 2 of my 2-yard cuts. There were only 1 yards. And it was not agreed upon that I was okay with just 1 yard of each. So there were 2 fabrics that I did lose out on. So getting the discount that I got at the register made me feel a little bit better about the fact that I got shorted on my fabric too. Let's see. Judy says, I used to work at Walmart as a receiving manager. Trust me, the price of fabric is at $8 a bolt. They're still making a profit. Oh yeah. Oh, I know they are. And my bolts were more than that because they were per the yard. They didn't charge me by the bolt. They charged me by the yard. But they don't have a lot of full bolts left. The ones that I picked up full bolts on are great for backings. Like they're great fabrics for backings, or borders or something like that. I intentionally picked them up with that intent. So 6 yards would get me, or 5+ yards, or about 5 yards, would get me the backing to a throw size quilt. So, having an extra 3 yards, it gives me binding. It gives me a border on the front. I can tie it in, all that kind of stuff. And I didn't pick up any solids. I left all the solids. The solids to me seemed like they were even cheaper quality than the regular fabric. So I didn't worry about that. And I mean, the guy that was cutting my fabric yesterday really does not know how to cut fabric. There was a section that the fabric was burned. Like it had slits in it and burned kind of look. I mean, it was bad. It was really bad. And I didn't realize it until I was folding it. And I was like, okay, we need to swap this out with, whatever the equivalent is, still sitting on this bolt. Like, we need to swap this out. And he was starting to measure it, guys, from selvage to selvage. And he's like, well, that's a yard. I was like, no. Helen says, is Walmart closing out fabrics by you, Tammy? Yes, they are. And my understanding, and welcome to the chat, by the way. I know you commented before I went live, but welcome back. So they are discontinuing by the bolt fabrics. My understanding is that they are doing that nationwide. That is the rumor mill that I am hearing here, is that they are doing that nationwide. So if you do have a Walmart near you that sells fabric by the yard, not the prepackaged stuff, but actually on the bolt, and selling off those fabrics, they will probably be discounted as of right now. I was told about it maybe about a week ago. I haven't been to Walmart. I haven't looked. I really didn't think we were, going to be able to afford any, so I wasn't worried about it. Judy says, yes, they are, Tammy. So, yeah, they are doing that everywhere, according to Judy. So, yeah, if you have a Walmart that is selling it by the bolt, they are the store to go visit if you're wanting to get discounted fabric. They did that before, and now again, yeah, right? I mean, some of the stores, like, when they when they discounted the fabric before, it was so that they could get down to a smaller footprint in their crafts department. And now they're doing it so that they can get rid of the human element of having to serve the customer in the crafts department. My store has the people in sporting goods coming over to do the sale process. If I were going to travel to Cheyenne or other places, I would go visit those Walmarts too and go see which ones have that fabric going. They're keeping the pre-cut by the yard, and fat quarters are staying. Yes, anything that is pre-packaged and they don't have to physically do anything with once it's on the shelf, that's what they're keeping. And there were some ladies there today when I was, getting my fabric cut, and they were looking at the yardage, and they're like, well, how much is this entire bolt? I said, they'll have to measure it for you. And she's like, oh, it's not $3. I was like, no, it's just $3 per yard, but they'll cut it for you. They'll cut the yard for you if that's all you want. It's just a yard. And then they're like looking at the pre-cuts, and they're looking at fat quarters, and they're like, oh, this is only $1 something. I said, yeah, and you can get a lot of those. You get a lot more variety in fat quarters, for the same price, kind of. But it was like, by the time you spend, the $3 for 1 yard of this, you have bought 2 fat quarters, which is half the value of this discounted fabric. It's like, so, you can get 4 of those. You can spend the price for 4 of those, or you can spend less and get 1 of these, or you can get these in half yards. You don't have to get the whole yard. You don't have to buy a whole yard if you don't need a whole yard. Buy what you actually need. And they did not have anything that I would like to use as blenders. They did have some batiks, but those are still higher priced right now. They are not discounted as heavily. So I didn't want to get any of the batiks, and any of that. And I did not see discounted prices on the upholstery fabrics. So if you guys are needing upholstery fabrics, I did not see that. So I don't know, but I would make the assumption that they are doing that across the board, because they really do want to get rid of that cutting table. It takes up valuable floor space, and then they have to pay someone to learn how to use the handheld system to process the tickets for it, and all of the other HR nightmares that go into having another employee on staff. And the gentleman from Sporting Goods today told me that the Sporting Goods employees are managing the Sporting Goods department, hardware, automotive, and like, I don't think they deal with toys, but it's like, I think it's household, automotive, and hardware, as well as the Sporting Goods department. So, like, they've got a lot on their plate. So they will have a Sporting Goods employee either way. But now that Sporting Goods employee doesn't have to come over to the crafts department to go cut fabric. Or try to borrow somebody from electronics and hope that they know what they're doing. Yeah, all of that kind of stuff. I thought I was closer to the end than I am, guys. I'm getting there, though. I am getting there. I have made sure so far all of my fabrics are right sides together. So we're not going to end up with any ripping time so far. And I am going to press all my seams towards the green. So as I sew these together, I'm just going to fold my seams towards the green. I'm not even going to take the time to manually, like, actually press them right now. I'm not going to bother with that. Everything is going to get pressed after the quilt top is assembled. So we're doing pretty good. We're still, within that first hour. And again, this is with me doing double the pieces and having these little bitty pieces in there. So, this is not bad for timing. I feel like this is going very well. If you were not here at the beginning, this is the Jelly Roll Race quilt that I am doing as our harvest quilt for wall decoration. My husband requested a harvest themed quilt, and he went and picked these fabrics out with me because he's like, well, does this go? Yeah. Yes, that goes. That's fine. That's perfect. Go ahead and pick that. Like, I was having to guide him on that. But basically what we're doing right now is just joining the short ends of everything. And once I get to the last of this strip set, then we'll cut everything apart and find our middle or find our ends and put them together and start sewing. So it'll be super fun once we get past this point. If you were in the chat tonight, how many of you have done a jelly roll race before? And have you done your seams as mitered? Chloe says it will be beautiful on the wall. I am hoping so. I'm hoping that I picked well, and letting the husband pick the fabrics for the most part. We've got the one standout fabric, the one navy blue background fabric that is kind of different from all the rest. But I think with putting these green squares in there, instead of putting them as jelly roll strips, I think that's going to increase the value of it, like the eye value. So it's not going to be super boring or anything like that, I don't think. And I think I may just quilt it with straight lines. Mitzi is headed to bed. She says, good night, everyone. Good night, Mitzi. Thank you for being here. Judy says, loving the fabric choices, right? He did good. He really wanted to, pick, really, orangey fabrics and all of that. And I was like, well, we need a little bit of variety. So we picked some light colors. And then he also picked out, a couple that have a lot of darkness to them. So it's going to be a well-balanced quilt, I think. If I had to hazard a guess, it's going to be very well balanced, although it's going to be very orange. Yes, thank you, Mitzi. She says, don't forget a thumbs up. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Helen says that she has not done a jelly roll race yet. Well, there is a National Sew a Jelly Roll Day coming up. It is apparently always on a Saturday, is what I am finding out. This year it is on September 21st. So there will be a lot of YouTube content creators that are probably going to sew some kind of jelly roll themed project. A jelly roll race was kind of the first thing that came out that I remember coming out to do with jelly rolls. Judy says she hasn't done one either. It's on her list for next month. Awesome. And then Helen says fall is her favorite thing. Yes. So this is perfect. So if you guys don't want to spend the money on an actual jelly roll, okay, you want the cheater's way. A jelly roll is typically 20 different fabrics. I'm doing 12. Let's see. You've not made a jelly roll either. Do they usually have the 2.5-inch squares? Nope, they're not squares. They are the 2.5-inch by width of fabric strips. So this is a half of a jelly roll strip. So like this fabric right here, that is half of a jelly roll strip because I did cut it in half. And then I just cut 2.25-inch squares off of my 2.5-inch strips to make these rectangles to go in here. You can cut them 2.5, but I was trying to make sure I had plenty to pair up with all of my different jelly roll pieces. So I did not bother with, making sure that they were square. I just wanted them all the same size. Chloe says, I love fall as well. The colors are so pretty. They are. You guys, I'm down to the last 3 strips. I'm down to the last 3. Last 3 or 4, if I can count. I'm using whatever 2.5-inch scrap strips I have cut. There you go. That's the way to do it. But if you need to buy yardage, I went looking because I was like, I'm not going to buy a jelly roll. I'm not going to do it. I do not have the funds to go buy a jelly roll because jelly rolls are curated. So you're going to be spending money for the curation of that jelly roll strip pack. And basically what that means is that you are paying for the fact that somebody else took their time to pick all these 20 different fabrics. So a jelly roll typically has 20 different fabrics. And if you want to cut your own jelly roll strips, the recommendation that I was given is have everything cut at half a yard because you will get the most strips for your bucks. So you're not going to end up with a whole bunch of extra strip pieces or whatever, or your whole bunch of scrap. Because if across 15 inches and then 17.5, so you're ending up with like half an inch of waste, and that's it. So if you go to the store and you want them to cut you fabric so that you can cut it into jelly roll strips, go ahead and have them cut you half yards of everything that you want, and then you can make your own jelly rolls. So that's what I have done. And some of these, they cut a little bit larger than half a yard. So some strip sets I got 8 strips. Some I only got the 7. Some of these I'm using 5 strips. Some of these I'm using 6. I think for the green squares, I did go ahead and cut all 7 strips for my half yard. But I did get more of the dark green because that's going to be my inner border. And the patchwork fabric looking fabric is also, had them cut more because I'm using that as my outer border. It's ridiculous the prices they charge for jelly roll. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. The curated jelly rolls, they are so stinking gorgeous. But I will tell you, one of my friends took a class at Quilt Wyoming, and they were all supposed to bring jelly rolls. Well, one person had, a pinked edge jelly roll that, she bought, and the inside of the pinked edge was her 2.5 inches. Another one, the outside pinked edge was her 2.5 inches. And then others that had their, had regular cut instead of pinked edge. Some of them were at like 2 3/4 or just, just a hair above 2.5. And some of them were right at 2.5, and some of them were just a little under. So every manufacturer is going to cut their, or everybody who's going to package Jelly Roll strips is going to package them differently. So at least with this way, I know everything that I have is 2.5 or darn near close to it. Like I'm not an exact person on some of my cutting, but it's close enough. It is absolutely close enough. So all I'm doing right now is I'm cutting the seam apart. So like I'm cutting these apart so that they are now stretched out. Let's see, where am I at? Chloe says, I agree, Judy, so expensive, right? Charlotte says I've made several with miter joins. Yes. Because this is something my husband wanted a fall themed quilt for the wall, because we have a spring one, we have a Christmas one, and spring stayed up through summer, so we didn't take it down. We've got 2 quilts for the wall now, and he wants a fall themed one because he doesn't want to put Christmas up yet. I don't blame him. But I do not have a lot of fall themed fabrics. So, fall is it's a good time of year, but it's not my favorite. I am definitely a winter person. And so I definitely did not have any of this. And so we had to go buy that. Always buy mine when they go on sale and never use them, says Glenda. Well, now you're going to see how to use them. You're going to see a very good, quick quilt to put together. It would be a lot quicker, again, if I didn't cut everything in half and be putting these like squares in there. That slowed me down. Let's see, Glenda, there are so many free patterns, it's hard to decide to open them. Yes, that is true too. It's very hard to decide to open them. All the pre-cuts I have, we bought on sale before COVID and paid like $3 to $15 for all mine. They're layer cakes and jelly rolls. Wow, those are incredible prices. Chloe says that she loves layer cakes, and she's saying those are good prices, Judy. Yes, they are. I honestly I've never used a layer cake. I have never bought one, so I've never had one to use. I have used charm packs. When I ran my store, we were sent some charm packs to use. That is the quilt that shall never be named. Actually, it will end up being named eventually. But I haven't done anything with it in forever. All right, let's see. That's my problem, but trying to convince myself to use them in scrap quilts, but not working yet. There you go. That's kind of the thing. Now there is a jelly roll pattern that I do want to find and use, but I haven't gotten there yet. I apologize, guys. I'm going to open this candy. It is not my typical gobstoppers, but I just need something. My throat is incredibly dry. Okay, so everything is cut apart. Let me bring you guys to the main camera so you guys aren't just sitting here watching my shoulder. All right, so we have the end of our strip, and I'm just going to feed my fabric through until I get to the other end. And I'm just going to make sure, I think, hang on. I'm going to make sure that I feed it through so it's all laying the right direction. You don't have to necessarily make sure it's feeding or facing the right direction. You can fix it at the end if you need to, but I kind of want to. So I'm just making sure it's not twisted. It's going to twist on me, so, just accept it's going to twist. Do not feel bad if it twists. It's going to twist on me. I am just trying to make sure that when I start this, that I'm going to start with the two sides facing each other, right sides together the whole way. And I'm going to let the quilt do the rest of the work for me. So you guys see how much quilt there is in this. I mean, there is a ton of this. Let's see. Helen says, oh, Glenda, just jump in, right? It's easier said than done, though. Judy says, love layer cakes, so versatile cuts. Yeah, I haven't worked with them yet. Charlotte says, I finally broke into my jelly roll stash. Glenda, take the dive, sweetie. Chloe says, yes, 10-inch squares give you a good amount of fabric and many options. And then Glenda says that she needs to stop procrastinating. Yep, I agree. No time like the present. Because if you keep procrastinating, you'll still be there when you're gone. You'll still be waiting for somebody. Break into one as though you're breaking into somebody else's stash. That's the way I have to look at it sometimes. Like, if I don't break into this and if I don't start sewing on it, if it's still here when I die, then somebody else is going to get to break into it. And do I really want to give that away, or do I want it for myself? So just pretend it's somebody else's stash. We're almost at the end, guys. There we go. All right, we found the end. All right, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that my two ends are right sides together. And this is the one that I trimmed off some inches, okay? So if you see right here, this is where this first one stops, but my other green square is way down here, okay? And that's if the strips themselves are lined up, okay? So I'm not going to worry about it. The only thing I'm going to make sure I do as I start sewing this is that I fold those seams towards the green squares. That's the only thing I'm going to worry about. I'm not going to worry about anything else. It's just, I just got the It's So Emma layer cake book to start into my layer cakes too. See, I don't have any layer cakes. I'm going to bring you guys back over to the machine so you guys can see this. And Helen says, Glenda, me too. Yeah, it's easy to get paralyzed because you have something that was expensive or that was special. But if you never dive into it, somebody else is going to be the one diving into it. And how much fun would it be for you to dive into it versus waiting and never knowing what happens to it? I know that's kind of a morbid way to look at it, but that's kind of how I think of it. Chloe says that she'll have to check out the book, Charlotte. Yeah, I don't even cut my scraps into layer cakes. I do have, actually I will say this, I do have some layer cake squares, and they came from some kind of D-stash or something. Somebody else's fabric, not mine. And I would sew a lot faster if I wasn't trying to line things up, so just bear with me, guys. Simply 10, I think it's called, Chloe. Okay. That's an easy to remember name, Simply 10. Yeah, I don't have, like, I have some layer cake squares that somebody cut, but I will guarantee you, when I cut my scraps, I don't cut 10-inch squares. I don't think I normally ever even have big enough fabric pieces to cut 10-inch squares. So I think that's part of the reason I don't have them in my stash already. It's because I don't typically have enough to have a 10-inch square. I might have a 5-inch square. I might have a 5-inch strip. I might have a 2.5-inch strip, you know, whatever. But I don't typically have 10 inches. I think maybe at that point it's too big of a scrap and I don't put it in my scraps maybe. I don't know what the problem is. I don't know why that is an unpopular size for me. But, I mean, if you guys want to gift me some layer cakes, I will be more than happy to figure something out. But I just haven't, I haven't played with 10-inch squares really ever for anything. And I don't know, I just don't know. I don't know. All right, I got a seam that is not wanting to lay flat because the fabric was curled before I sewed it together. So I was having to fuss with it a little bit. So all we are doing is that entire long strip. So that one long strip of all of these strips put together. All I am doing is you are sewing them together. You're sewing that strip back to itself, right sides together. You start at the raw edges and you are sewing down the long sides. This is when things start picking up. Charlotte says it goes with the Simply 10 ruler from Creative Grids. Chloe bought that book and ruler for her sister-in-law. She loves it. That's perfect. I don't have anybody in my family that quilts, and everybody in my family that sews is just kind of like we don't talk to each other for anything. So like it's not that we don't like each other, it's just we don't have any shared interests other than, you know, the fact that we both sew. But she already knows everything she needs to know. I already know everything I need to know, and we have no other shared interests, so it is what it is. Glenda says, it took me a long time to start using my layer cakes and charm squares and fat quarters. Started watching YouTube and getting better. See, there you go. And that's what Cut and Chiseled was all about, was using up those fat quarters. Fat quarters, for me, they're the easy thing to buy, but a hard thing to use, because if I cut into a fat quarter, I do panic a little bit. I do have a little bit of a panic attack, because then I'm thinking about all the scraps that are coming from this and how in the world am I going to use them. Like, I'm seriously, you guys, I will sit there and not use a fat quarter because I think of all the scraps that I will end up with. So I end up, putting more stuff into my scraps instead of using the whole fat quarter, and I feel guilty. So Cut and Chiseled was a great thing to get the chance to do anything with, because not only did it help me use an entire fat quarter, or a couple fat quarters at a time, it uses every little bit and piece, so nothing is going to waste and nothing is going into your scrap bin to cause more scraps for later. It's similar to me, Tammy, only I and my stepmom quilt. Yeah, see, I mean, I don't even have my a mom or stepmom that quilts. My mom can sew. She sewed for me growing up. She made costumes and such, Halloween costumes. Or, well, it wasn't really as much Halloween costumes as it was costumes for school plays. That was kind of more what she sewed. So she knew how to sew, but she didn't enjoy it. And she has a sewing machine now, and she still, I don't think, sews much of anything. I think my dad was kind of hoping she would get into it, and it doesn't seem like that's the case. Chloe says, you can do it, Glenda. I don't like breaking into mine either. See, one of the things that I want to do, and I'm going to do it with my strip sets, the 2-inch strip sets, is I'm going to pair it with a white or a neutral color. Charlotte says that she started quilting before her stepmom did. That's precious. You got her involved. That's funny. Yeah, I'm going to pair my strip sets with neutrals and use the neutrals to kind of balance out the amount of colors and variances that are in my strip sets. Because I have some strip sets with some very bold and defining patterns and colors, and I really don't want to look at that much of that fabric. So, but I do want to use it up and get it out of my stash. The whole goal of buying fabric is to use it. So that's why I did buy the fabric at Walmart that I bought. It's not because I just want more fabric on my shelves, because I actually don't even have any more yardage shelving room, guys. I am completely out of shelving room for my yardage. I don't know exactly where I'm going to put it. So, like, it's going on the magazine boards, but I have no room. So I don't know where it's going in. I may convert the shelves up here behind these picture frames, I may convert those to fabric shelves and start putting yardage there. But like I do not have any more room on my shelves in front of me for any more yardage. So I do have to use some. Like I'm going to have to use this stuff and get it gone. But it's just not there yet. It's just not there yet. I am definitely the only quilter in the family at all. Like nobody else is picking up quilting. Even my stepdaughter isn't picking up quilting, so it is what it is. Everybody knows that I'm the quilter in the family, and so when there's a quilt to be made, I am the one to make it. Or if there's a quilt that's desired, I'm the one to ask. So it kind of is what it is. Like, I mean, even in my husband's family, there's nobody. Like, I don't think anybody in my husband's family crafts, you guys. Like, I mean, nobody in his family is a decorator like he is. Nobody in the family has fabric and crochets and knits or any of that. Like, none of his family is like that. I am the only one. He married into it. He came by it fair and square. He married into it. But yeah, I mean, so I bought fabric last night, and then I was like, well, you know, he was saying that he needed to go to Walmart. And I was like, well, I may go, you know, because I need to pick up one thing, and then, you know, I may go look at the fabric again. He's like, well, go ahead and buy whatever it is you didn't buy last night. It's like, oh my gosh, that's too much fabric. And then he's over there picking out more fabrics to hand me, you guys. Like, I can't even get through the fabric buying process without him handing me more. So it is what it is. All right, so we are at 9:15. Okay, so we got 45 minutes. I don't know how far we're going to get, but we're going to try. We are going to try. All right, let's see. Judy says, my grandmother, mom, and aunts on both sides quilted. My husband's grandmother and aunt's quilt. See, my great grandmother, I'm thinking, because I think who, okay, so my mom says Grandma Hilliard. So I don't know the relation to Grandma Hilliard. So I think it's my mom's grandmother. So she would have been one of my great grandmothers. She quilted. Because like my mom remembers the frame and all of that and like pulling it down off the wall and all of this other stuff. But you guys, that didn't pass on to my mom at all. Like my mom didn't pick up any of that. I don't even know where my mom learned to sew, you guys. I really don't. Because I don't think she learned from her mom. So, you know, I don't know where all of that worked. Charlotte says, oh, famous last words, go look at the fabric. Yeah. See, the problem isn't me going to look at the fabric. It's when he's over there to go look at the fabric. Because I will set myself a budget of how much I'm willing to spend. And guys, I mean, seriously, when I set a budget, I stick to the budget. Like, I set a budget for last night for how much I was willing to spend. And I went like $10 over it initially. But the discount at the register made up for that. So, like, it's not, like, I didn't go way over budget. When he's there, like, the budget just does not exist anymore. And it's really dangerous. When I say he's my worst enabler, I am not joking. I am not joking. But, I mean, he's getting a good quilt out of, you know, what I bought at Hobby Lobby. So, you know, he can hush. He's going to get a very pretty quilt out of it. Guys, I got so much still sitting on the floor. This is going to be bigger than I thought it was going to be. I did go for 64 strips. So that's what we're working with. Some jelly rolls right now, especially the prepackaged ones from major designers, only have 40 strips in them. So don't be alarmed if your jelly roll does not have that many strips in it. I did intend for 64 strips. For a generous sized quilt for the wall, I wanted 64 strips. So, and if I trim some off, I'm not going to be upset about that. Helen says, that's sweet of your hubby. And Chloe says, definitely. Right? He is so sweet. But he's so dangerous to my budget. Like, I mean, our budget. Like, we're yeah, no. Let's see, what is this budget thing you speak of? I know, right? You know, if it was, you know, if I did not have a budget when it comes to sewing and quilting supplies, guys, I would totally have the long arm on the 14-foot frame. I would have, you know, the automated quilting, and, you know, I would have all the extra tools and bells and whistles and all of that. Rob says that he dozed off on the couch, so I think he's going to fall in bed. Good night, everyone. Have a beautiful night. Thank you, Rob, for being here. I appreciate you being here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And enjoy your sleep tonight. Thank you for hanging out as long as you did. Let's see. Judy says, I love to look, but it has to be on sale or something I need to finish something. Yeah, that's normally how I spend money. When it comes to fabric, that's how I spend money. If it is not on a list of things that I need, or if it's not, I mean, even if it's on sale, if it is not on my list, 9 times out of 10, I don't buy it. And he knows that. He knows I don't. Like, I can walk into a fabric store and walk out without anything. And he'll look at me and he'll go, did you find anything you liked? I said, oh yeah, of course, absolutely. And, you know, I do find stuff I like. So, you know, there's always stuff that's pretty. But I stop myself because, do I need it yet? No, I don't. And if it was meant to be, then it will be there when I need it. Oh, we got some Scarecrow fabrics sewing together. Charlotte said I've not gone that far, Tammy, yet. Walking out empty-handed or the long arm. I need the long arm. That would be like, that's my next like big ticket, like drool over moment is getting myself a computerized long arm. But there's no way I'm gonna have the money to afford that. I already know. It's not even close to being in the budget. You know, I would have to take on a lot of client quilts, in order to pay for a long arm. I mean, if I start selling off all the quilts that I've made that I don't use, then that would help greatly. And then if I start selling off some of these others, that would definitely help. The long arm, okay, yeah. Yeah, guys, that would totally be my dream, is to have a computerized long arm. I mean, Rayanne came in the chat the other night, and she is considering selling her long arm. But I don't think I'm going to even be able to be close to in budget to what she needs to get for it. So I don't know. And the Pro Stitcher, the computerized part of hers, is not functioning. So, you know, it is what it is. Yeah, if she would do me an even swap and swap me the the long arm that I've got now for her long arm, like swap my sit down completely manual long arm for her long arm, you know, that would be fantastic. But, you know, mine's not going to have as many bells and whistles as what she's probably going to be looking at to replace her long arm with. So, you know, I fully admit I am. But a girl could dream. Yes, a girl can definitely dream. And for those of you who know the conversation we had the other night, was it Sunday? It was either Saturday or Sunday. A long arm doesn't have a face on it. So I don't have to worry about not being able to identify it in my dream. Oh, it's the little things in life, right? It is the little things. All right. So this is definitely the longest part of this process, is just lining up all of these, or laying down all of these seams at these green squares, these green rectangles. Actually, they're not squares, these green rectangles. But I do want them to go towards the green. And it'll kind of give the green a little bit more of a pop in the finished quilt. if they're all lined up like that. So that's what we're going with, is they're going to line up a little bit prettier and look a little bit fancier that way. And that way I also know I don't have to figure out which way it's supposed to be folded. When I get to the next row of stitching, I don't even have to, think, okay, let's find which way I folded that one. It's all going to be, everything is going to be folded in towards the green squares. It's the little things that get us through the day. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Oh, so many things I could do with a digitized long arm. I would be okay if somebody wanted to gift me that as an inheritance. I might be able to find someone to help me pay the taxes on it. Oh my gosh, guys. Their strip is so stinking long. Oh, I knew it was going to be, but oh gosh, it's so stinking long. Even with taking out these extra seam allowances because of the extra seams in here, the strip is so incredibly long. Jacqueline is here. She says, hello from Oklahoma. Welcome back to the chat, Jacqueline. Glad you made it in tonight. We've been going for a little bit, but we're going to keep going. And we may go a little bit past 10, just depending on how I'm doing on this. So if we're, close to another, twist or turn or whatever, I may go ahead and continue with the live so that way you guys can see exactly what I'm doing. We are working on a Jelly Roll Race quilt. What I have done is I've taken 12 different fabrics. I got a 1/2 yard cut of each and cut jelly roll strips from them, so 2.5 inch wide strips. And I did go ahead and cut the selvages off, and I also cut all of my strips in half. And then one set of strips, my dark green, that you'll hear me talk about these dark green squares that are in here. And I apologize that this camera is doing this, you guys. I do not know how to change the setting on it yet to fix that autofocus problem. So these dark green squares, I just went ahead and cut all of my squares 2.25 inches. So that way I had enough to attach to every single strip. So there is a little green rectangle between each of the jelly roll fabrics. And so they are going in there as a buffer. So they're just providing a little bit of extra division between the fabrics so that they're not, they're not blending into each other too much. And it also means that I'm not going to have a large patch of dark green fabric touching the border. So this dark green is actually going to go as a border. Oh, this teal pumpkins are going to be right next to each other. So yeah, I put all of those squares in, or all those rectangles in, and now we are just sewing that first really, really long seam to sew these strips together. So this is the first main step once you get all your strips together, is you fold your fabrics right sides together and you just sew ad infinitum until you get to the end. And you get to that folded edge. Now you can start at the folded edge, but I don't know anyone who does. You can do it, but I feel like this is the better way to do it, because then you can move that fold wherever it needs to be, and you don't run the risk of accidentally cutting off extra fabric that you need. I love those teal pumpkins, says Charlotte. Yes, right? I used that fabric last year on a mug rug that I made for our Christmas exchange. Everybody wrote down what they liked, like what season they liked, what color they liked, what holiday they liked, or whatever. And you were supposed to make or pick out a mug rug. My understanding is you were supposed to make the mug rugs. Most everybody did. But you're supposed to make the mug rugs and make it with something that your recipient likes. I put down purple and winter. because that's my favorite color and that's my favorite season. And I got fall themed mug rugs. I got 2 of them. I think my gifter went to the local thrift store and picked out something that was on clearance. Or maybe they picked it up at a garage sale, but it had one of those plastic sticker tool thingies on it. Those little plastic, like, clothes hanger thingies. So I'm not quite sure that they actually made my mug rugs. Let's see, Jacqueline says, thought I'd let you know the Bluey quilt I showed in your show and tell won a blue ribbon in the county fair. Of course, I don't know how many quilts were entered in that class. That is amazing. You guys, if you guys are here, if you guys are listening, please put some congratulations in the chat for Jacqueline. That's insane. That's so exciting. That's a big one. I don't even have a blue ribbon yet. I don't have a blue ribbon, and you've got a blue ribbon. Congratulations. County fair, not country fair. I think I said county. Oh, you typed country. Oh, yeah. No, I said county. I think I misread it and said it the right way. Go me. That's my blue ribbon moment. I said the right word. I think I did. You guys can correct me if I didn't. I'm good. Everybody's saying congratulations. Yes, absolutely. That's amazing news, Jacqueline. Congrats. So, how does our blue ribbon winner feel about her prize? Oh, goodness. Okay, Nightbot. Nightbot got you, Helen. Nightbot's asking if you are finished. They want you to stop spamming emotes. So, emojis. Nightbot does have a limit. So you have found Nightbot's limit. Congratulations. You win the prize. It was a small fair. That's okay. That is okay, Jacqueline. There is nothing wrong with it being a small fair or a small quilt show or small anything. A blue ribbon is still a blue ribbon. Helen says, OMG, I got called out for being happy. Right? Right? Oh, who was it? It was Giovanna at one point that when she was in my chats early when I started my channel, her and one other person kept getting called out by Nightbot. So you have won the prize. Jacqueline says that it felt pretty good. That's what I want to hear. That's what I want to hear. Now, don't ever compare any of your other quilts to your Bluey quilt, because then you'll always be disappointed. Every quilt is its own prize. Chloe says, no matter, you deserve the ribbon. It is adorable. Yes, it is adorable. It is adorable. And we haven't done that one on, or yeah, we did. We did part of that one on Sew and Tell already. I may pull it back forward to this next Sew and Tell, just to re-show it and give the update if that's okay with you. Doesn't matter, Jacqueline, you got a blue ribbon. Exactly, right? Right? I mean, guys, I have 2 red ribbons, I have a yellow ribbon, and I have a brown ribbon. You got a blue ribbon. I'm proud for you. I'm excited for you. That's exciting. That's so exciting. I've been entirely too confident in my work, I guess, maybe. Maybe that's why I haven't gotten a blue ribbon. I don't know. Maybe that's it. Helen says, yes, a blue ribbon is still the best. Right? It sure is. Sure is. Even when it's a small event, you know, when it's your birthday and you get to blow out your own candles, that's still exciting. Even if you know it's your birthday, you know you're going to get to blow out your candles, all of that, it's still exciting. So it don't matter if the site is small. She'll send a picture of the blue ribbon. Perfect. Yes, please do. Please do. That's amazing news. I'm going to sleep so much better tonight knowing that one of my subscribers got a blue ribbon. I'm excited. I'm so excited. Oh my gosh. That's like a major... well, first you have to enter. That's true. That's true. I mean, I've entered. I was just shocked that I got a brown ribbon. haven't even pulled that ribbon off the quilt yet, you guys. It's still folded up with the quilt. I guess I need to pull it out to make sure that the ribbon itself isn't crushed. It's one of those little flat ribbons. It's not the like big, like billowy top ribbons or anything like that. Can't wait to see it. Yes, right? We're gonna see Jacqueline's. We're not gonna see my brown colored ribbon. I mean, we could probably call it brown cow, but it's like that color. It's like a dark brown color. It's not even like a tan or, you know, anything shiny, in my opinion. So I'm glad that you got the blue. All right, my scarecrows are coming together again, but that's okay. These are going to be buried somewhere near the middle of the quilt, probably. So I'm not worried about it. We are still, guys, we still have a big pile on the floor down here. All right. So if I, golly, there's so much. There's so much down there. All right, camera's gonna move. You guys are gonna get to see it. That big pile right there, right there. Tons of it. There's more to it. I can't get the camera to focus on it. What was the brown ribbon for? 7th place. 7th place. I got 7th out of 8 quilts in the category. Such an aspiring ribbon to get. I can definitely say it's been a first. I've never gotten a brown ribbon before. Maybe I need to go, you know, enter as many quilts as possible next year. Like, find all the different categories, because you can only enter 1 quilt per category. And maybe I need to enter all the categories just to see if I can collect all the ribbons and get a complete set. 1st through 10th. Oh. I'm sure it could happen. I'm sure it could. I just need to make sure that Helen says, that's okay, at least you entered. Right? I did. I did. I didn't even know that they had ribbons for anything past 3rd place. So, you know, the fact that they were entering, you know, giving out ribbons for all these other places, you know, that's kind of cool. Charlotte says, wow, but you still place, yeah, once above the bottom. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I'm not mad. I'm more giggling because, you know, I did not ever realize that they had a 7th place ribbon. Like, they could go down. Apparently, you can go all the way to 10th place. And this one judge was issuing all the way down to, like, 9th place. Maybe she was issuing 10th. I don't know. But so she was issuing a whole bunch of ribbons. And so, like, you would place the first 3, and then she would, like, rank the rest of them. So you kind of knew where you stood compared to the rest of them. But beyond that, I was kind of disappointed that it was, like, next to last. Glenda says, at least you entered and got a ribbon. Yes. Now, my other quilt that I entered, I did not ribbon at all. That judge only placed 1st through 3rd. That judge did not give anything past 3rd place. And it is judge's discretion. So the judge can decide whether or not they want to give anything past, like, 3rd place. They have to do 1st through 3rd, but they can decide if they want to do anything past that. And so one of the judges did, and the other judge didn't. And so one judge had 1 quilt of mine, and the other judge had the other one. Jacqueline says, I entered 2 other quilts in other categories and got 2 red ribbons. Oh, there you go. You got 2nd place. That's awesome. That is amazing. So you got a 1st place in 2 seconds. That's not bad. Not bad at all. I entered county and didn't get anything for county. I didn't even get honorable mention or anything like that. Or no, wait. I did get something. I won something. No, wait. I did. Oh, I got 2nd in... Is that where I got 2nd? Yeah, that's Wyoming State. That was last year. Central Wyoming. Yes, I did get 2nd this year in county fair. But I did not. I placed 7th in state fair, but not the same quilts. I didn't enter the same quilts. Glenda says, I never entered a quilt. Yeah, see? You just got to enter. You just got to enter. And even if you don't get something, I don't enter quilts right now because I haven't done superbly well. And I admit that I haven't done superbly well. I don't enter quilts expecting to ribbon or place. Charlotte says I want to get a little better before I enter a contest of any sort. Okay, so that leads into why I enter. Okay, I don't enter intending to get a ribbon, and I am okay if I don't get a ribbon. I have come to accept that it is likely I will not get a ribbon, and that's okay. Judy says, good night, everyone. Have to be up in 5 hours. Absolutely. Get some sleep. Get some sleep. Get a lot of it. 5 hours is not a lot of time, so get that sleep in. Get it, Judy. So the reason that I enter is because you get a judging sheet back where they have marked what their opinions are on your quilt. And please keep in mind that it is one judge's opinion on one particular day. So that judge could be having a really bad day. You could be up against a lot of stiff competition. Like, there's any number of reasons why the judge might have the opinion that they have that day. Okay? So do not take it personally. But especially if there is an open judging, which for the state fair there was, and I did go to it. So that's how I knew I had a 7th place ribbon even before I went to pick up my quilt. When you enter a competition like that, the goal is to learn from the judging sheet. So the judges will mark what, I just want to make a good showing. See, yes and no. So, you know, if it is where you are comfortable with that quilt, then go ahead and enter it. And the only thing that it's going to do is hurt your feelings if you expected a ribbon. That is the only thing it's going to do, is if you expect a ribbon and you don't get one, then you'll have hurt feelings. But if you enter with the intention of learning from the judges, then you will not end up with hurt feelings. When I was listening to the judges talk, they were calling out different things about all these different quilts. And when I got my judging sheet back, you know, I don't understand a couple of the things that they marked. Like, there's still a couple things that I don't get why she marked it that way. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. But there's other things that they marked. And so now that I'm, you know, home and I can open my quilt up and, you know, look at it in detail, I can see why they marked what they marked. Like, I can see, she said, okay, this is wrong, or this needs work. And I'm like, okay, well, let me look at it. And now I can see how they're looking at the quilt and how strict they're being about it. So, like, you know, if, you know, my borders are wavy or my lines aren't straight or whatever, then I'm seeing that in my quilt. Like, I'm seeing what they're talking about because they're impartial. They're not looking at the quilt because I made it. They're looking at the quilt because it was submitted for judging. So they're not judging it based off of what I put in. You guys, you know, the ladies that, you know, have seen these quilts in person, my other quilt group ladies, were mad that I did not get ribbons. Or that they were mad that one of my quilts did not get a ribbon. They're like, yours was far better than all of these others. Chloe says, falling asleep here. I've been up since 5 a.m. Good night, all. Good night, Chloe. Thank you for hanging out as long as you did. I know it's a late night there. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I will stop this at 10 o'clock, even though we will not be done. And what I will probably do is I will just have to go ahead and finish it. But I think I will try to do a video so you guys can see exactly what I did once I get to the turning points and all of that. So this won't be like overly long of a video. Like it's not going to be, you know, beyond the normal like 2 hours tops that most people like to watch. You know, it's going to be 2.5 hours, but that's okay. But I will make sure that this is videoed, so I can post it up, so you guys can actually see how the rest of this goes together. Helen says it's so rewarding to me when I give a quilt to someone and they love it, and that's a lot more to me. Exactly, right? So, like, you guys, I texted my husband, and I was like, I only got 7th place. And that was for, you know, one of the quilts that I made for him. And he's like, well, the other one's going to be top 3. I was like, okay. You think so? Okay, that's fine. And, you know, both of these quilts were gifts for him. So both of these quilts weren't done intending to put them in a show. They were done intending to be gifted to him. And guys, his reaction when he found out that I did not place on one, he said that they were blind, that the judges were blind. So even though the quilts didn't place, the recipient of the quilts absolutely loves them. And, you know, one of them we have slept with for years. It'll probably go back on our bed here shortly, to be an additional layer with our other one that's on our bed. But yeah, I mean, guys, it doesn't matter that, you know, the judges didn't like my quilts. The recipient likes it. And that's what matters. Helen says, oh, that's super, Tammy, right? Right? Like, so the one of the quilts, when I asked him, I was like, you know, I won't have this other one done because I'm struggling with it. I'm fighting with my machine, all of this other stuff. You know, I was like, can I just, you know, take this other quilt? You know, he's like, I don't care. Why would I care? I was like, because it's your quilt. Because I made it for you. He's like, oh, that's my quilt? And why is it on our bed? I was like, because we're supposed to use it. It's like, I didn't make it for you for it to sit in a shelf. And Charlotte says, that's ultimately what matters, right? It is. But I got to use both of these quilts that I didn't make for showing, I didn't make for judging. I got to use both of them as a learning opportunity. So even though I knew that black one that, you know, has been on our bed for a while, I mean, it's seen some wear. I mean, it's 3 years old. I bound it for Christmas 3 years ago. So that was his Christmas present 3 years ago. So I knew it wasn't going to show super well because it has been used. But I knew that it would be a good opportunity for me to see what the judges had to say to me about that quilt. And I can look at it a little bit more objectively because it has been finished for as long as it has. Now, your county or state fairs may have limitations on how long the quilt can be made for. Ours is a 3-year limit. So, you know, the next year I would not have been able to enter that quilt, technically. Now, if I took the label off, which I'm not going to do, then they would never know exactly when the quilt was made. But, you know, it's the honor system for that. Oh, hang on. There we go. Had some fabric bunching up underneath the presser foot. Was about to sew a crease into everything. I don't want to do that. Guys, can you still believe that there's still fabric sitting here on the floor? I have been sewing for ages, it feels like, and there's still fabric. This is, you know, this is the part where everybody speeds up the jelly roll races. So if you see somebody who's done a jelly roll race and they're like videoing it or whatever, this is the part that they, that's the part that they speed up. They're just like, we're done. We're done. There's no sense in, you know, hanging on to it for forever. You know, we're done. Let's be done with it. All right. There's that square, or that rectangle. Got another one coming up. Oh, just running out of bobbin. That is the other thing with the jelly roll race. If you do not have a bobbin sensor on your machine that tells you when you're running out of bobbin, please be aware that you will run out of bobbin sewing this quilt. So wind a few extra bobbins before you get started. It will save you in the end. Helen says, my hubby was my biggest cheerleader and he's passed on, so it was my best memories with him watching me quilt on long arms. See, there you go. There you go. So what better way to honor him than continuing your craft and working on finding new ways to improve. That's the perfect way to do it. At least that's the way I would look at it. Because I would have the same problem. If my husband passes away, or when he eventually passes away, if he passes away and I'm still around and kicking, then that is going to be my biggest struggle, is getting back into quilting, because he is such a cheerleader for me for quilting. Let's see, I just put my magnetic seam guide on my industrial and let her rip. Yeah, I could do that if I had pressed all these seams, but I didn't do that. So not taking the step to press the seams made a little bit of a difference. So the only seams that you guys really need to press if you're going to do this is these seams where you join your jelly roll strips, and or if you're adding like triangles or these rectangles or squares or something like that, you need to press those seams as well. That will make a huge difference, and it will speed up your sewing. And if you're not talking to the computer screen and reading comments, that will also speed up your sewing as well. I also do have my light off so you guys can see, so that and affects it just a little bit. Not a whole lot, but a little bit. Oh, there's so many strips. So many strips. Now, if you have little kids hanging around, this is the time when they can sit there and like sort this for you on the floor. Oh, so that way all you're pulling up is your folded together strips or your pinned together strips. And I do not worry about pinning. Please do not worry about pinning. This is too much length to try to stop and pin and unpin and all of that. There's no sense in trying to do that mess. That is just a fool's errand. It will take you more time than it saves you in the long run. And, you know, because these are long strips going together, unless you are doing this to enter into a quilt show. See what I did there? Unless you're doing this to enter into a quilt show, your seams do not have to be perfect. You don't want big, like, you know, big overages or big underages or whatever. Like, you don't want to go, like, hog wild all over the place. But you don't have to take that extra step and take a step back and go, you know, fixing these to be 100% accurate the whole way. There's a little bit of give room in this quilt, and that's why a lot of people like this as a stash busting for jelly rolls, because unless you are adding a whole bunch of strips and like having an extra seams and all of that like I'm doing, this is a very fast quilt to put together. And it would have been even faster if I had already had everything, you know, sewn together. My 3-year-old granddaughter would likely knot the strip up. That is probably true as well, Charlotte. Oh, but she would have so much fun playing. Well, see, I guess you could play with what you've already sewn then. Like the strips that are hanging off on the back side of my machine, she could probably play with those and be just fine. The cats would. Right? Now, for the funniest twist in the world, I think it's hilarious when cats play with fabric that have dog prints on it and dogs play with fabric that has cat prints on it. I don't know why I find that so amusing, but for some reason, my perverse curiosity and my perverse sense of humor, I guess, finds it infinitely amusing to have cats playing with dog print fabric and dogs playing with cat print fabric. I don't know why. So I I think my curiosity would lead me to probably, if I was making kennel quilts, or if I was, doing the fabric for the dog beds, for the shelter, I would probably use cat print fabric for the dog beds, and I would use dog print fabric for the cat pillows. I would probably do that. That would be my bad. Hey, that's the way to get her into the love of fabric, right? It is. It really is. What you could do is you can always some spare strips, because if you cut this from half yards, you're going to have some spare strips. You can take those spare strips and cut them into something that a 3-year-old can manage, but then give her a piece of flannel or your design wall or whatever, and let her come lay them out in a format that she likes, and then you can sew her a little dog quilt out of the scraps. Let's see, not my granddaughter, she pulled my 65-pound machine off the back of the table. Okay, there you go. Do you sew your strips together with diagonal seams or straight seams? If I was doing this for myself, they would be diagonal. This is for my husband and to satisfy his need to decorate. So yes, this quilt is just decoration. So they are all straight seams. If I were sewing this for myself, yeah, they would be diagonal seams. He did not like the look of diagonal seams, so I Googled Jelly Roll Race quilts, so I could give him an idea of what I was planning. And then I gave him, kind of like they do at the optometrist office, A or B. And so, I kind of had him pick through what he liked and what he didn't like. I was also thinking originally about doing triangles to join them, and he did not like the look of the triangles. So we ended up with flat seams because he didn't like the look of the triangles. He didn't like the look of the mitered. And instead of this going horizontally across the wall, it is going to go vertically. So it is going to have a different layout than a lot of Jelly Roll Race quilts will have, because it is going to be up and down strips. And originally he did not want the little cornerstone pieces in there. He did not want anything like that going on. However, I basically told him that it was non-negotiable because I did not like the idea of having this big long section of green Jelly Roll fabric butting right up against the border that is also going to be the dark green. So I did want some variation there. I did not want that. So I showed him. Somebody has a Dr. Seuss quilt, and it's a done quilt. It's not a kit or something. And they sewed it horizontally with the squares in there, and they were dark colors compared to the fabrics. So I was able to show him that and show him what it was going to kind of look like idea-wise. He's like, okay. I was like, that's good, because you're not getting a choice about it. That's kind of what I want to do, and that's what we're going to do. And I do apologize for my hair, you guys. I washed it right before I came on this live. It is, I think, almost dry now. So I have brushed it. I did brush it before I got on the live, but my hair tangles very well, very easily when it naturally dries. So it is a big poof ball of mess. It is not a pretty sight right now. I will need to brush it out thoroughly, and I will need to straighten it before I go anywhere tomorrow. But yeah, we are going to, we got 3 minutes. All right. So we're going to see how much I got left. Way more than 3 minutes. Okay. So I'm going to show you guys what I'm going to do when I get to the end of this. And because I have way too much still left to do, we're not going to get to it tonight. I wish we could, but there's no way. It's not going to happen. And I am going to line this up a little bit. So I'm going to get to the end of this so you guys can see just how much was left. I mean, this is yards. Yards of sewing. Well, I do have to get in bed at some decent hour. My service dog will be very mad at me if I don't get in bed by 10:30, or winding down to be in bed by 11. He will not give me any kind of relief tomorrow. He will be a holy terror all day tomorrow. Going to bed too much later than that, I can pull it off once in a while, like a really, really long once in a while, but I have too much going on this week. I cannot do him, I cannot do the service dog bad looks, like looking at me like, Mom, you really, really. All right, so let's say I have sewn all the way to the end, and this is where I'm at, okay? I don't know that this is where my fold is going to be, so I'm not going to go ahead and cut it. But once I get to this end, I will sew about half an inch away, or an inch away. I will take my bigger ones, not these scissors, and I will come in and cut that fold, and then I will sew straight off the end. Then I'm not going to press anything. I'm just going to open this up. I will find the other end all the way down on the floor, bring it up, and do the same thing that I'm doing right now. Okay? That is the basic concept of a jelly roll quilt, and you keep doing that until you get to the point where the quilt is the size that you want. Let me bring you guys back off of this so you're not sitting there looking at my shoulder. So yeah, I still have this much left to do. Okay? You're good. Only 11 o'clock here and 3 more hours till I go to bed. I've been taking 3-hour naps every day. I wish I could. But the service dog is going to give me no rest whatsoever. And my alarm is actually going off right now. There's 10 p.m. Yep. And also I'm supposed to take meds at 10. So I am going to have to get off of here. But what I'm going to do is I will, in the morning when I come back, I will start videotaping. And so I will videotape and I will start right where we're at. I'm not going to sew anything else until in the morning when I start sewing. I will go ahead and sew the rest of this, so that way there is video proof of how to do this. What size will it be when you finish? I do not know yet. I want to say that this will be oversized throw, which is kind of what I'm aiming for. And my quilt that's on the wall right now is 64 by 80, I think. So I'm kind of aiming for that kind of size. So if I do end up having to cut some off, what I will do is it will go on the back as part of the hang sleeve or something like that. Like none of this is going to go to waste. But I am going to do 2 borders on it because I want it to have a more finished look than just straight jelly roll strips. So we will do something like that with it. But I will videotape all of it. And then once everything is put together and completely finished, then I will publish that video. So I'm not, once the top is done, I will publish that video. And then I will see about doing something for the quilting process of it, because I am probably going to quilt straight lines. It's not going to be a fancy quilt. Or I might quilt it on the cutie frame. I don't know yet. So it just depends on what I feel like. We'll see once I get closer to that. Let's see, Charlotte says, all right, honey, have a good night, Tammy and everyone. Thank you. Helen says, good night, friends. And Glenda says, good night, everyone. Have a blessed night. Charlotte's giving a big hug. Awesome, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And I will see you guys Saturday. No, not Saturday. I will see you guys Sunday if I do not see you before then. So I may do this video drop before Saturday. I'm expecting to. But we may also do another impromptu on Friday or so, depending on what's going on. And I look forward to seeing you guys then if I can. If not, I will see you guys Sunday evening for After Sunset. All right, bye.